Hey, everybody, welcome back to a brand new edition of 20 Minutes. We are back for the 2023 year. And again, always a pleasure to be able to connect with some of the coaches across the state and just kind of look back a little bit at the previous year, as well as get a little bit of an early feel for 2023 and all sorts of things in between. And well, always a pleasure to bring this gentleman in and someone that I've had the pleasure to know for several years now. And like I said, he just gets older and he gets better looking. It's Tim Racki, and my Saluki brother got a. We always have that connection. And Tim, great to see you. I know we're just coming off a signing day, so I'm sure. Again, always busy between January, which by the way, January is now the new May. So
Right.
now you've got all kinds of guys coming through school. So how was January? I got to imagine January was pretty busy for you.
Extremely busy. All the big schools, small schools, D2, they all came through, which I love because the kids are working out and the effort's going to be there when they see those guys wearing their college gear, watching them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Obviously, an amazing run. Let's dig into 2022 a little bit. An amazing run. And again, for those that aren't familiar with the story, Naz winds up 5-4 last year. I want to say at one point 2-4
Two
during
and
the
four.
season.
2-4.
And again, you look at your regular season losses. I mean, Lamont, very strong Lamont team last year. Marist, Niles Notre Dame, and St. Rita. So again, obviously playing very good competition like you do every year. But 2-4 is 2-4, and was there one specific moment or one specific game, or was it a combination of things where you finally got off the schneid a little bit and things started to roll? What was that point for you last season, Tim?
It was exactly that moment after 2-4 because we had those tough losses to Lamont and then to Notre Dame, and then Rita and Marist took us behind the woodshed and punched us in the mouth and roughed us up a little bit. Two great programs. And at that point, and I had a meeting, and it was because everybody thought, that this old school mentality that maybe I was rough on them or beating them up or coaching them hard, and it was more. When you're 2-4 and people are talking about Nazareth rebuilding or being too young, I saw that they were broken. So what I did was I was pointing out everything they did well in those games that we lost.
Yeah.
And what they were doing well on the field, off the field, and literally that cliche of a day at a time. I mean,
Yep.
because I emptied my leadership toolbox and I told them, I said, you got the tools. I'm hoping that you can start using them, and I want you seniors to lead. We only had 13 seniors.
Right.
I'm going to follow you. I'm going to be with you. I'm going to love you wherever we go, whether it's not the playoffs, whether it's to the first round, whatever. But it's time for you guys to saddle up and lead this show. And before you knew it, I mean, it was still, even after that, Zach Hayes, and we took the knee at Champaign against Peoria, I was still, it took me a while to really process the run that we had. It was very special.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. And to be fair, you were young last year. I mean, you had a very young team, and again, it was one of those strange phenomenons that seems to happen more than once at NAS, where you were a young team, yet those young guys had varsity experience. I mean, you look at a couple of your keys on that team. Logan Malachuk started as a freshman at the varsity for you, which is very rare. So he was able to do that. Gabe Kaminsky on a defensive side, another kid, started as a freshman, so he had varsity experience. So you were young, yet in some spots you had kids with varsity experience. And you mentioned leadership. Could that have been one of those cases where some of your key guys are younger, and maybe it's a little harder for the upperclassmen to accept those guys, and for those young guys to maybe step up a little bit more and be maybe more vocal as a leader? Did you run into that? Did that seem to be maybe part of the issue, or just no?
No, and that's a great question, Edge, because I've always prided myself on with these young guys that come in. I've been doing this for years, by the way. With when the young guys come in, we do a lot of leadership training, relationship building in the summer with the younger guys because I want those freshmen and sophomore. I don't want any of that hazing BS.
Right.
I don't want these kids to be intimidated. I want them literally to be older brothers to them in the school and outside of the school. So a lot of time has been put in. So the seniors this year, they were taken care of as they were younger. But I especially had a meeting with our top guys to say, hey, we're young and you got to be patient and you got to help these guys, teaching them the right way that when they make mistakes, they're going to beat themselves up more than, and you just piling on them or pointing the finger at them is just going to compound the failures that we're going to have. And my seniors, God bless them. I mean, and I told the seniors we only had 13. It's not how many you got, it's who you got. And I had some special leaders that took that to heart and really, like I said, embraced those younger guys. And those younger guys, and they're going to, which helps the program because they're going to carry that on because they remember what these 13 young men did.
Yep. You mentioned you've been at this for a little while. You have.
Yeah.
So here's what I have. We'll see if my record keeping is any good. Probably way off, but we'll see what I have here. So overall, 25 years varsity head coach.
Was this my first year? 98 was my first year.
Between Driscoll and
So I think what messes me up is that shutdown year, man.
I know. I guess I count it. I don't know. I'll have to go back and look, but let's just say you have a lot of wins, a lot more wins than losses. And again, just a tremendous run. 8 state titles now, if I'm correct. 4 at Driscoll, 4 at Naz. I mean, 2 different journeys for you, 2 different ways to get to those state finals. Do you appreciate both runs for different reasons? Do they feel different? I mean, obviously it's taken you more years at Naz to get it going, but is there more satisfaction in that? Or was Driscoll so long ago, you just kind of blocked that out? I mean, and I know you probably never look back at stuff, but do you look back during the offseason a little bit and look at how the 2 separate journeys, both for state title games, but 2 different journeys for you for sure?
Absolutely. Well, I'll never forget Driscoll. I graduated from there. So coaching your alma mater and especially being the head coach of tremendous teams, state title teams, I'll never forget Driscoll.
Yeah.
Now that said, am I the same coach that I was at Driscoll that I am at Nazareth? Absolutely not. I pride myself on evolving and changing and challenging myself every year to adapting. And kids change too, which that too, Edgy, where whether it's social media and failure and the pressures that they have compared to what I dealt with at Driscoll and how I coached at Driscoll, I'm a completely different head coach than I was then. And I don't know how I don't know how you stay the same and maintain success. I just, I couldn't do that. It's worked for me in terms of how I've evolved.
Yeah, no doubt. You've been involved in some crazy individual games. I mean, it's just some wild ones, but where does last year's state title game rank? It's got to be up there.
I'm telling you, I mean, and it is up there because, a lot of these titles from the past, it's a different, which, where we were almost when you're expected to do it, there's a lot of different pressures and adversity and obstacles you have to navigate. Where I've never been, I don't think any team has ever been 2-4 and then gone on to win a state title. So the obstacles and challenges there were drastically different as well. So, but this particular year, yes, it's definitely special and one that I won't forget because of where we were at. Yeah. More importantly, seeing. And it's such a lesson for other teams and coaches and players in terms of the resiliency you got to have and the grit and to keep believing. Because, you see teams, at least I see teams from the outside, when you're 2-4 and especially coming off, getting your butt kicked for 2 weeks and being 2-4. And it's easy for a kid to pack it in And these kids did not do that. They focused on what they did well and what they can improve on. And sure enough, you saw that confidence grow weekly. More importantly, I saw it daily, and it turned into quite a fun journey. So a lot of lessons there for other teams in terms of what I learned, and resiliency can take you a long way, which is hard to find these days.
Yeah, and again, you don't accomplish what you've been able to accomplish without a staff, a strong assistant coaching staff. Talk about some of your key guys on that staff.
Yeah, and I just said this at our awards banquet a month ago, and I say it every year, and it's true. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. The one thing that I've been very good at, and this goes back to my Driscoll days because I had amazing staffs there. It's I'm really great at picking assistant coaches and giving them ownership, because that's how I was raised when I was a young coach before I became a head coach. So giving that ownership, I found, and I'll step in and I'll of course be involved in every aspect of the game.
Yep.
And the planning, but giving that ownership to these coaches and not being afraid to say, I don't know, or that's a great idea, goes a long way, and not being the smartest guy in the room and admitting that. And I think my staff appreciates that. And I think just the longevity, I had my staff at Driscoll, even though I was there a shorter time, all the key guys intact. And here at Nazareth, like Casey Moran, my offensive coordinator, has been with me since I've been at Naz. Yeah. Started off as my offensive line coach. Now he's my coordinator. Keith Lukes was with me. Jeff Tumpain has been with me. So with defensively, they learned under my philosophy and then took it to way bigger levels than I did with technology, game planning, and making it their own, which is the key. And then Rudy Luna, my special teams coordinator, who's been with me for over 10 years, I think now, as well as Joe Battaglia, defensive line coach, been with me year 2 till now. So I just, a lot of Joe Reynolds, he's the guy I go to for my in-game feedback, who's been with me for over 15 years. So as you can see, when you have that retention in the staff and those relationships, it goes way beyond just being an assistant coach on the staff. So I'm very blessed with that longevity and continuity that I have within my staff on all levels.
Yeah, no doubt about it. As I mentioned, we're recording this is day after the second signing day period began. The last handful of years, I don't need to tell you, I mean, the recruiting landscape has completely changed. I mean, it's like being a mountain and then knocking the whole damn mountain down. That's how much it's changed with transfer portal and everything else going on. And, at least from my standpoint, Tim, and I'm very interested from yours, what you thought of kids and maybe where they were from a talent standpoint and maybe where they might wind up. Boy, you can't even say anymore. You see a kid and think, well, I think he could play at the FCS level or D2. You can't even say that anymore because you don't even know what's out there as far as offers and scholarships that are available. How has that gone as far as trying to get that message to your parents and how do you address it with them? Because let's face it, it's never been harder, Tim, to get that scholarship.
And that's true, especially with the portal as well, makes it even more difficult than it already was. And it is still challenging. I think I'm blessed because of my resume. But I am very honest with parents in terms of what I think. Now, the problem that I have is that I hate telling a kid you can't be Division I or you can't be Division II because and I think that's just because of my past where I was a walk-on at Southern Illinois, and I was told I'd be too small or too slow, and I wasn't. I got it done and lettered there a few years. So I guess that's the dynamic that I navigate. Like, yeah, you can do that if you want to walk on. It's going to be a very extremely hard road. But I give them those options where I tell them honestly what the coaches, the assessment they're giving, because the biggest thing is, which is easy, is which Edge, is the measurables. The things that the kids can't control: how tall you are, how long your arms are, how much you weigh, all that. I mean, just a bunch of stuff where they come in and it's the eye test.
No doubt about it. Obviously, over the years, you've been able to put a ton of kids in college. I know a couple of them that have had a lot of success. I see their jerseys hanging behind you.
Yeah.
Do you get some of your guys coming back to you now, kids that have graduated out of NAS and at the college level, talking about transfers? Because let's face it, you see the amount of kids that have gone into the transfer portal. It's almost shocking at times. And I'm sure some of those kids have probably come back and asked your opinion or suggestions or thoughts on if that's a good road or not. And then what do you tell them? Is it just based on each kid, or what kind of advice do you give?
Well, I tell them do not, and I'm blessed. A lot of our kids are past players. You know, well, yeah, I see Julian and JJ, they will come back. And a lot more do come back. And, you know, the first message they tell them is, you know, enjoy high school football, because, you know, a lot of these kids in high school, they cannot wait to get to that next level, but they don't know. They see the hats on signing day, but they don't know how drastically different it is from high school football. You know, where it becomes a job, a business. I mean, it's fun, but it's a lot of work and a lot more competition. But in terms of the portal, yes, I've had many of my players who contemplated it reach out to me. My advice, because what I'll do is before they make that jump, I want to help them out, because you better have a plan if somebody is interested before you go in the portal, because all these guys that came through this past month have even told me, you have no idea how many kids just blindly jump into that portal and, you know, they die there, you know, in terms of their career, where they don't have anywhere to go because they think somebody's just going to automatically pluck them. And unless you're 6'5", you know, offensive tackle, or you run a 4.3 and you have great tape, that's very difficult to do. And even the recruiters that came through here have told me, you know, make sure those kids have a plan before they just blindly jump into that portal.
Yeah. It's absolutely crazy all the way around. And unfortunately, I don't see it changing anytime soon. I know they're talking about putting some different deadlines in, but I think once that door's been opened, Tim, it's going to stay open. So okay. It doesn't help. It doesn't help high school recruiting whatsoever, in my opinion. 2023, quickly again. I know we're in just early February, so there's a lot of time between now and when you guys report in summer. But you know, again, 13 starters back from a state title team, 6 on offense, 7 on defense. You look at the schedule. Do you have a week 2 opening still, or did you?
We just secured York for a 1-year contract.
Oh, wow. Oh, great. So now you are going to play a playoff team every week in 2023. Congrats on that. That's great. What are you doing?
Well, I mean, nobody wants to play us, and I'm just York's, and I get along with Coach Fitz.
Yeah,
over there. Talk about
that's a great game.
Amazing career. Yeah, he's I think very highly of Fitz. So you know they were looking for a game 2. It's close in proximity. It's going to be a tremendous challenge with what he's done over there. Yep. And you know what? After I really believe that's why I think the schedule last year helped us when you have that, because I knew going in last year that was a meat grinder those first 6 weeks. But what it did in turn, look what happened. It helped. It showed that, hey, you play a tough schedule against, you know, these schools, and it's going to help you. Sure, you can risk injury or whatever, but you do that every week with the injury thing. You can't worry about that. But what I found it did for us last year, and it's obvious, it helps you become a better football team. So playing York is going to make us better regardless of what that outcome is going to be.
Yeah, it's no joke. I mean, you're talking Kankakee, York, Montini, Immaculate Conception, Ignatius. Oh, what a great story Ignatius has been the last couple of years.
Right.
Fenwick was extremely young last year, so they're going to bring back quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, a little school called Brother Rice.
Right.
Yeah, no big deal with them. And even Marion Catholic. I saw Marion Catholic against St. Pat's last year, and they had some good young talent. And I don't think they're going to be worse this year. I think they're going to be better. And then you finish with Wheaton St. Francis, again, another strong team for them. So, yeah, you're going to have your hands full. There's no doubt about it. But you're right. I totally agree. You get out of that with 5 wins, you're going to be – I don't care what class you're in, you're going to be tested. Couple other quick things before I cut you loose, my friend. And again, I just appreciate you so much taking time. State title games going back to Illinois State. What's your thoughts?
I'm actually on board with that, and I think you wrote about it because I love Illinois. What I loved about the Cal was the crowd was right on top of you. It looked fuller. It had that state title vibe, and that's the thing. You're just not going to pack 70, even 30,000 in for a high school game at U of I, because it does seem, even though it's awesome facilities, and the kids playing on a Big Ten field, but it seems like, there's not many people there. And so I think with Illinois State, that atmosphere, and I think the kids, both team or whoever's playing in that state title game, that atmosphere is going to be on steroids compared to what it is at U of I. But again, just my opinion. I just think that adds so much flavor. And when you go to whatever level it is, you go to a semifinal game where it's packed, or even here at Naz, it's just special when you have those huge crowds.
Yeah, it's a tremendous atmosphere, and I think Illinois State has done a lot of work. I think that's going to surprise people that remember the last time we were there. They've done a lot of renovations at Hancock. I know I just was there Saturday for a basketball game. We won't talk about those results, but I happen to notice they are in the process of building their indoor facility at Illinois State. They've made pretty good progress, and that's supposed to be ready before the state final game. So, I'm excited. I think it's a good move, Tim. And again, I thought NIU was terrific. I thought they did a great job with it. In Illinois, I'll never say a bad thing about Illinois.
Right.
Illinois, great facility, and they did a tremendous job. And I hope we get more competition. I think I like the rotating every other year, and I know it wasn't really feasible for a while, but I just like the fact that we got a different look and a different feel every other year. I don't know if you can make that work down the road, but I think more competition for the games is better. I think it proved out that, get rid of signing 10-year contracts and make it shorter, and hopefully we'll continue to have the best possible solution. And who knows, pal, maybe 3-4 years from now, we might have Arlington Heights as a possibility.
There you go. Right. Why not?
I don't know. 1 through 32, all 8 classes. Is it going to happen this year or no?
I hope so. I think that's the best route to go. I mean, it's the most fair route, seeding 1 through 32. I was never a fan of the geographic settings because I played, you'll know which ones, but I've played in more than a few quarterfinal games where you look back on it after the state title game and be like, well, the state title was that quarterfinal game.
Yeah.
Those were the two best teams. And just because they happen to be closer to each other, they landed. So I've always been all in on 1 through 32.
Yeah, I think the majority will be, and I agree. There has been a lot of talk about it lately, which makes me a little nervous right about now. But hopefully, as we get a little bit closer, they'll be able to get things straightened out. And we can give it a shot, my friend. Again, you're the best. Always appreciate you taking time, and I'll be there sooner rather than later to come haunt your sidelines again. And again, just have a great off season, and look forward to seeing you a little bit down the road.
You look great, Edge. Go Salukis, man.
You know what? I keep telling you, the older we get, the better looking we get. It's unbelievable. I told my wife, I said, by the time I'm 70, I'm going to be like a solid 6. That's the goal.
Right.
All right, buddy. Appreciate you.